the first thing that I thought of in my mind was igloos and dog sleds and things like that. And although it is very cold sometimes, I didn't see any igloos and I didn't see any dog sleds. If you were to see the city from an airplane or even walking through certain parts of the city, it would look similar to New York or Chicago or Philadelphia, just a big city in a Western culture similar to ours. When you start to talk to the people and see the diversity there, things change pretty quickly. But it looks like a city just like ours. There were times when I was in downtown when I would ride the subway to church every week. The housing is different depending on what part of the province you're in. If you're in Toronto, you'll typically live in a high-rise building in an apartment. Some of them are old, and some of them are newer and a little bit nicer. If you're outside of the city, you'll typically live in a basement apartment or maybe a shorter, smaller apartment building. Despite Toronto being so big, it's actually a pretty safe city. It's, if I understand correctly, it's the second safest city in Canada behind Vancouver of the big cities. And Canada's crime rate is far, far below any city in the United States. It's a real safe place. Toronto's a pretty liberal place. Lots of people that have different views on same-sex marriage. It's a very artsy place. I wasn't into this while I was there, but there's lots of small museums for history or for art, or I've heard the music scene is really good there, things like that. But I was able to experience all sorts of different cultures contacting down in close to downtown Toronto, and you would sometimes go an hour or an hour and a half without seeing a white person. You would be speaking to people from India and from China and Russia and Iran and all over the place.
As far as like generally, I think culture between like Vancouver City and at least what I was used to here in the States, it's pretty similar. You know, both are very driven. We want to be successful. We want to do our best, you know, to be frank, make money, do well in our professions and everything. I think that's common between both. One thing I feel like I noticed as far as culture goes is maybe Vancouver's like a little more lax. I mean, there's at least like one holiday a month, you know, so I don't know what they would say to that, but I definitely noticed that. People are very friendly, or I thought in Canada, they talk to us a lot. One thing though, as far as like religion goes, so here you might hear like celebrities that you know never go to church or anything like that say like, oh, I'm grateful that God led me here, or God's given me this career. I don't think you hear that as much up in Canada. I don't know why exactly that is. That's just one of the things that I did notice as far as culture goes. In Vancouver City, traffic is unreal sometimes, and so most people try to get by just taking public transit. The bus system is very, very good, so I think people do that to avoid the traffic, to be honest, because if I lived in Vancouver, I wouldn't want to deal with some of the traffic I got stuck in every day because it was unreal. Food is delicious. I loved eating. One of my favorite foods is sushi. So anyone who loves sushi here in the States like doesn't even know what real or like good sushi tastes like until they go to Vancouver, because it's unreal how delicious it is. I'll have to admit I spent a lot of money eating sushi. If I ever needed, like, if we ever ate out, I mean, I could get like 3 rolls of sushi for $8. And if I went to go to like a fast food and get like a burger combo, it would cost the same thing. So in my mind, I would just rationalize that like, of course I'm going to go eat sushi instead of eat out at like McDonald's, you know? So I really enjoyed that. Living expenses are way higher in Vancouver. Their minimum wage, mind you, is also significantly higher. I think it's like 11 or 12 bucks. Some of the apartments that we lived in weren't very nice, but they were still close to like $1,000 a month. So that is one thing to know. Everything is more expensive. Even like milk. Fish though, like if I wanted to get like a fillet of salmon, like a nice big one, I could get 2 for $7. I mean, you're gonna find crime anywhere you go. there is a lot of crime where I'm from in California, and a lot of like murders and things like that. I think Vancouver is a fairly safe place. Like media arts was really popular in Vancouver. A lot of businesses would help other companies create like advertisements or web design or things like that. A lot of people get into that. I think that's offered at some of the schools in British Columbia. So fairly easy for people to get into that and then make a living off of it. So I saw that a lot